Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we will review The Great Wall, the movie. And guys, this movie review will be spoiler filled. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, I don't want to ruin the movie for you. So I'm going to give you a chance to exit the review. Um, I like to try to go in depth a bit with my reviews. So it's kind of hard to do a review without addressing some of the main parts of the movie. So after you saw the movie, guys, come on back to the review, and you'll be good to go. So you should be gone by now. But anyway, guys, The Great Wall is a movie starring Matt Damon, or Matt Damon. It's said from the South Park characters. And I'm a big fan of Matt Damon. I have been for many years. I pretty much have liked all the movies he's done. And, even the complaint about the Adjustment Bureau movie, even though, that was probably one of his worst movies. What that movie was about, I found, pretty interesting. I was able to get through it, but not one of his finest movies. But anyway, this movie, it talks about the Great Wall of China, and we find out that the Great Wall of China maybe wasn't built for some of the reasons history tells us it was built for, And so the critics have been slamming this movie quite, pretty hard. It's been said to be another one of these white savior movies where you get this white guy going into another culture, and he's going to show them what they need to do, like The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, and many other movies that have people feel have been whitewashed by Hollywood. And with this movie, I only want to say that if that was the case in this movie, this was probably I would say Matt Damon probably did that the less, of all the whitewash Hollywood movies. And the reason I say that is because, when Matt Damon arrives on the scene, the Chinese pretty much, not only know everything that's going on, they know more than Matt Damon. They're prepared to fight the threat, more so than Matt Damon. And Matt Damon, he's basically, able to defeat one of the monsters by accident, and he doesn't even really know how he did it. So, the Chinese are, they pretty much are handling, the threat and everything. They're ahead of the game on that. So he doesn't really come in and save anybody. But anyway, let's get into the character of Matt Damon and, what it was all about. So, Matt Damon plays this. I guess he's kind of like this mercenary slash thief, who, typical type mercenary character who only fights for money and fortune and fame, and doesn't really fight for anything of importance, so to speak, anything of substance. Um, and so he's accompanied by and whatever their names were in this movie, I can't even remember. But we also had I believe his name is Pedro Pascal, but we know him of Thrones. He played Prince Oberyn. So we got, y'all probably saw the trailers with, Prince Oberyn in it. And also, Willem Dafoe, he's in the movie. But anyway, Matt Damon, again, him and Pedro, they play this mercenary task. And as the movie opens up, they're fleeing from this band of bandits or something like that, or they've probably stolen something from them, or they've upset them some kind of way, so they're on horseback after them. And Matt Damon is looking for, his character is looking for what they call black powder, which we know as gunpowder. Chinese through history they had gunpowder and was using gunpowder, thousands of years, before it got to the West. So, Matt Damon and he's trying to get to it, take it back to Europe, so he has a fortune and things like that. But en route, as they've gotten away from this group of bandits, they've done something to. Um, they stopped the rest, and in the middle of night, they're attacked by this weird lizard-like creature, and Matt Damon is able to take his sword and take a limb off this creature. He decides to, uh, take the appendage of this creature with him, so that if he comes in contact with someone who may know what exactly it was, maybe they can, give him an explanation of, what it is he just severed a limb on. And so, um, the bandits come back who, who were pursuing him in the beginning. And so Matt Damon and Pedro again are on the move, and they keep going and going until they get to the gates of the Great Wall of China. And, at the gates, as they're, at these gates, the Chinese, army, they basically fired all these archers, have fired all these warning shots of arrows and things like that. And the bandits are also afraid to keep coming. So the bandits cut off their pursuit and let the Chinese deal with them. And so, as they're, brought into the gates, the Chinese, Matt Damon, shows the limb of the creature. And, basically it's looking like they're going to, be imprisoned or something like that. But after they show the limb of this creature it's found, they want to know how in the world did they get that? How was Matt Damon able to defeat this creature or even stand against this creature? And Matt Damon explains that he did it by himself, but they don't believe it because apparently they know what type of creatures these are, and they understand that basically that one person would never be able to stand against this type of creature. So we get this scene where before they can really take Matt Damon and Pedro to a proper cell, these lizard creatures are en route to attacking them. So they don't have time to do that. They actually have to take Matt Damon up on the wall, and they get to see these lizard creatures as they're attacking the wall, trying to get over the wall. And so it's very interesting. I'm a big fan of various types of armor, especially Chinese, Japanese, and things like that. So, looking at this armor, I was kind of disappointed because I guess I wanted the armor to be more historically accurate, and they went for in this show a lot of pageantry, and some of these the armor like some of superhero would wear. It just looked very fantastical, and I know it's supposed to be this type of movie. I could see from the previews, and when I saw the previews, I kind of looked at this movie and I was saying, oh yeah, this isn't gonna work. But to my surprise, as I got into watching this movie, I can say that if nothing else, this movie was quite entertaining. So it's a lot of entertainment in this movie, and so it actually turned out to be a lot better than I thought it would be. But back to the armor thing. The armor, it was all these various bright colors, and it was very fantasy-like armor. It didn't look anything like what I know of the historical Chinese armor, how it would look. And so they had all these strange fighting styles against these lizards. How they engaged them. They were these to explain these lizard-like creatures. They were like, you've probably kind of seen what they look like on the preview. They kind of look like Komodo dragons a little bit, and I was fine with that. I was also thinking, well, maybe these are like just really big Komodo dragons, which would make a lot of sense because some historical accounts talk about Komodo dragons being very large. Even today, a Komodo dragon can be like 10 feet, but thinking like they'd probably do something like that. But and they did kind of look like that, but then they also kind of looked very alien. They had some crazy stuff going on with them, and I didn't much like that. So so some things, some designs and creature designs and different things like that. And costume designs, various things like that. I didn't like. Also, in the movie they had where you guys probably seen them from the trailers where they're kind of like be strapped to these cables and they would dive off the Great Wall and what they would have is like these lances or spears in their hands and as they descend down on the creatures they would be stabbing them with these lances and then they'll be retracted and it was kind of just a very, I thought, impractical battle strategy, but also only women could do it. So they had this like army of just women, and because of their light body weight, I would assume they could easily be hoisted back up. And they was doing this, and all through this movie, you're looking like, well, this is very impractical. Who would come up with something like this? It looks kind of ridiculous. But although I didn't like that, there were some elements of the movie, some military ideas and things that I did thought made a whole lot of sense. Like, as the lizards swimming up the Great Wall, these slits in the wall, and they would have these like scissor type shears or something that would just be slicing the lizards up. That would come out of the side of the walls and slice them up as they climbed up. And to me, that was actually a pretty good idea. I think even from a historical, military weapons and siege weaponry or protection against sieges or different things like that. I think the weapon like how they showed, in this movie would have made a lot of sense. And I'm kind of surprised I didn't kind of see anything like that, on a lot of the, ancient stone walls they built. I do remember in like some castles, they would of course have these slit holes in the castles where they could stick, their bow and arrows out and they can shoot bow and arrows through these slit holes and hit the enemies without them, they themselves being exposed to any danger, and they could take out a lot of enemies like that. So that part I thought was a great idea, and I found that interesting about the movie. But we also get to find in the movie that a character played by Willem Dafoe, he's already been there for like 25 years because the thing is, once they find out, once you learn a lot of the secrets, to the Chinese and things like that, they don't let you go home. So, they keep all that, you can't been behind the walls and you've seen certain things. So, that's basically the plan with, they're going to Matt Damon. They've already done it to Willem Dafoe, who's been there for like 25 years. But some kind of way, these gentlemen, they get all together and they start plotting to escape, but to escape with the black powder or the gunpowder. So they're trying to come up with this plan that during the lizard attack or these lizards attack, that they'll be fleeing, and headed out whilst the enemies are busy fighting off these creatures. We also get to learn a little bit more about where the creatures came from, what are they, and it's just a story about this emperor who was very greedy thousands of years prior, I think about 2,000 years prior or something like that. And they believe it came from the heavens, this plague to deal with his greed, and it kind of comes down in an asteroid, so it looks like there's some type of aliens, and they have these very alien-like features on them, And what their motivation is, or what they're doing, is their queen has to constantly feed so she can create more, of them, keep them surviving and keep, I guess, their, them going, or what have you. But and apparently another thing is, for some reason, they only attack every 60 years. So every 60 years the China have time to try to strategize a plan. I don't have time to, build a Great Wall of China, and all those different things. So, that's what happens with that. But again, back to, Willem Dafoe and Matt Damon, and so they got this plan going. But throughout the situation, Matt Damon kind of the military commander, who's played by this, I can't remember her name. I had took some notes with some, but I seem to have lost the notes. But she she was already like kind of commander of her little division, because they have all these various divisions, different colored armor that do various things, like whether they're archers or the lancers they were, or or your present foot soldiers, whatever they were. You had your own type of armor. You know, one night one of the lizard creatures gets through the wall, and the general, he's leading this like shield formation. It's kind of like the Roman turtle, where they do the shields and they can all be protected by the shields. But the creature breaks it up. He slams into him, and then he's about to kill this, this very cute Asian woman who's plays the commander of the Lance Corps, the people jumping off. And the general, basically sacrificed himself to save her. But as he's dying, he makes her, the commander, of their army. And so, Matt Damon and this commander, after she becomes like the general, what have you, they've become, kind of, very much interested in one another, I guess you could say, because Matt Damon, through his while he's getting ready to be taken sail on the first attack by the lizard-like creatures, he's able to get a weapon. They're able to free him so he can fight, and he fights pretty well. And so him and Prince Oberyn or Pascal, they fight well enough to pretty much earn, the respect of the Chinese through the fight, in order to be set, free, at least not to be put in the jail cell. But, they still can't leave, but they at least now aren't prisoners. And they kind of have this, I guess he's like a general, or he's kind of like the scientist, or the smart Chinese guy who figures out everything. And he's able to find that Matt Damon had been carrying around this magnetic, this magnet, that Matt Damon was actually using, for as a compass. And they find out that the magnet is what allowed Matt Damon to fight off this creature, because apparently, the queen of these lizard-like creatures, she communicates with them. They act as drones. They can only really function when she's giving them instructions. And she sends out this kind of sonic, it's like I'm assuming that she's somehow using the magnetic field, because she has this kind of skeletal headpiece that vibrates. And I'm thinking that she's some kind of way sending this information through the magnetic field, and that the magnet that Matt Damon possesses is disrupting that, and it disrupts it enough to where the creatures become confused and disoriented, and you can pretty much kill them then. So, so this military commander, she's become interested in Matt Damon, and she wants to know more about him and who he is as a person, and she's trying to help him understand that the Chinese, that they fight for honor and, for noble causes, whereas Matt Damon is still in this mercenary type of, mindset, where he's still thinking about fighting for glory and money and things like that. So, um, they don't kind of reach a area on the same page, but Matt Damon is obviously very interested in this character. So, we basically get, to where the next attack comes, and Willem Dafoe and Pedro Pascal, they're planning their escape with the black powder, but they're kind of noticing that, Matt Damon's getting really interested in this military commander. He seems to be interested in their cause, and he doesn't. They're concerned that he's not gonna want to leave and steal the black powder and leave them to fend. Leave the Chinese lizard creatures themselves. Although they've let them know what the stakes are. That if these creatures aren't stopped, they're going to spread to the rest of the world. So it won't just be the Chinese problem; it's going to be the rest of the world's problem. But Pedro Pascal and Willem Dafoe, they're just thinking short term. They just want to get the money and let come what may. So but they're concerned that Matt Damon's not going to join them, and that he's not coming and he's not going to help them, which Matt Damon isn't, because Matt Damon has somehow throughout this situation found the cause to fight with these Chinese. He's their commander, and he's kind of for a purpose. He wants to, be greater than what he's been, throughout his life. So, he confronts his compadres, his comrades, and he sees that they're going to steal this black powder. They're not going to help the Chinese, so he tries to fight them to keep them there. He says he can't let them do that, but they're able to get the best of them, and they take off with the black powder. The Chinese believes Matt Damon was in on it, so they wanted she's the military commander. She's thinking Matt Damon betrayed her, and so she wants to imprison him. But if Matt Damon had helped this young soldier, earlier on in the movie, who actually, didn't forget what Matt Damon did for him. So this young soldier kind of witnessed everything, and he kind of told the truth that Matt Damon was on their side and trying to fight back. So they let Matt Damon out for the last attack. So in the last attack with these creatures, they pretty much know they about the magnet, that they can use that, and they're fighting, and the creatures are coming at them, but they only have that one magnet, and so they create this plan where they need to use the gunpowder and just kind of blow the creatures up, and they create this plan where they're gonna use balloons, because they kind of create this hot air balloon, because this is for that time frame. I'm thinking it might be 14th century, something like that. Maybe around the Crusade times or right after. The Chinese at this point in history are very advanced technology wise, so they're probably the most advanced culture on the planet, or one of them at this point in time. But so they got hot air balloons, and they're flying around, and they got the gunpowder, and they're just kind of creating these grenades where they can destroy these lizard-like creatures. And and very interesting how they do it. Like I was saying about this movie, guys. If nothing else, it was a very entertaining movie. It was a popcorn movie. I'm thinking I was gonna say, and I'll speak a little bit more about my overall thoughts on the movie at the end. But anyway, so things don't go well for Willem Dafoe and Pedro Pascal, because as this attack's going on, the Chinese have found a way to bomb these creatures from the air with hot air balloons. Willem Dafoe and Pedro Pascal, basically, they're basically, or I'm sorry, Pedro Pascal is basically betrayed by Willem Dafoe, and left, stranded, in the desert. Willem takes off with his horses, whilst he's trying to scout out where to go next, and Willem Dafoe already knows where to go, so he betrays him. Apparently, he's gonna take all the money and things for himself, and so Pedro Pascal actually ends up having to come back, as a prisoner, and Willem Dafoe is captured by I believe the same bandits were after Matt Damon. And so, in short, it doesn't work out good for them trying to escape at all. And so, they're bombing and they're attacking, these creatures, and the creatures are getting smart. They're finding a way to kind of shield and block from these various, you know, you know, these arrows and things like that. But Matt Damon, his main skill was an archer, and he was archer, and he was a very good, archer. In the trailers, you kind of see him and Pedro Pascal. They're tossing up, looks like some cups or something like that, and he's able to knock the cup out of the air, then shoot arrows in time to kind of create this holder for the cup to land on, and so he has great super like human abilities with this bow and arrow. And so um, because these creatures have kind of found this strategy to shield themselves from the arrows with the gunpowder going in to try to blow them up. Matt Damon, being a great archer, he's able to get his bow and arrow opening the creatures left open for the arrow to hit right in there and destroy the queen, because it's like all these other movies where if you kill the queen, that severs the connection, and all the drones just drop dead when the queen's dead. So that's the same thing here. The creatures can't, obviously live without the queen, and so Matt Damon basically, is a hero now. He gets two options, as Pedro at this point, his best friend, has been captured, and he's going to be dealt with by the Chinese, and he's a prisoner of theirs now. But as Matt Damon's a hero to the Chinese, they grant him several requests and honors and gifts and things like that for him saving them. And so Matt Damon comes in to address, Pedro at the end and lets him know, hey, I got the black powder, and they said I can go with a fortune of the black powder, and Pedro's like, I guess everything worked out for you. They having this banter back and forth. It's like a "I told you so" type banter, and so he lets Pedro know, well, they gave me the option of I can take this powder and money and go back and be rich, or I can leave everything and just take you and we can go all free. And so it's kind of like Pedro's like, well, which one did you pick, and things like that. And so what I found interesting, I like that scene because it's kind of funny that the very thing that Pedro and Willem Dafoe, or rather Pedro, was trying to convince Matt Damon not to do, and trying to convince him of who he was, that he was the liar, that he was the thief, that he was the murderer, and he was the mercenary, only concerned about money. That the fact he turned out not to be those things was what saved Pedro Pascal's life, or So I really like that scene. But anyway, let me give my final thoughts on this movie. The movie turned out to be a lot better than I could ever have thought it would be. I was looking at the trailers and, seeing them doing all this weird bungee jumping with the lances, which I still thought was a ridiculous battle strategy, and it was. I really thought the movie was going to bomb, and and it has basically bombed. The critics are really slamming this movie, but I want to say that the movie's not as bad, as they're saying it is. That the movie's turned out to be a lot better than I thought it was. That it was very entertaining, and up until the end, it did kind of my eyes did get a bit heavy. They could have kind of made this movie shorter. I think it's like 2 hours and something. It could have probably been an hour and 30 minutes, But and just a few other interesting things is about this movie is that the person who plays this movie was made in China, and this was kind of like a partnership with China and Hollywood, or American, big American actors like Matt Damon. and $150 million movie. So the movie, from China, that's probably one of the most expensive movies they made. So they're getting up there with that Hollywood caliber type movies. But I just want to say that at certain parts of the movie, I could kind of, $150 million sounds like a lot of money, but compared to $250 million Hollywood budgets and far past north $200 million budgets and quality of film we're used to seeing now in Hollywood, this movie, you can tell that it wasn't quite as up to par as those Hollywood type big budget movies. That I can tell it was $150 million movie. There were certain things about the movie that just looked like we've seen better special effects years ago. Things like that. But all in all, it was an entertaining movie. It entertained me. So it's got to get points for that. And it was a shocking in that it entertained me more than I thought it would be. Again, I didn't like that it wasn't historically accurate. Like I wanted it to be a lot more because I'm a history buff and I was trying to see some things about Chinese history that I know from history. And this director who did this film, he was the same director who did Hero, the Jet Li movie with Hero. In fact, some of the Chinese are wearing one of the Chinese smart Chinese guy, the kind of the advisor to the general or the kind of scientist guy. He was actually wearing a costume almost identical to the one Jet Li wore in Hero. If you guys remember Hero years ago, that movie with Jet Li. It looks like it's about set in the same time frame or something. But this was a fair movie. I mean, I'm gonna, it wasn't a great movie. It wasn't a good movie. I don't even know if it's worth, paying for a movie ticket unless it's just a weekend and you don't got anything else to do and you just kind of feel like going to the movies. I can kind of more or less see this being watched on DVD or Netflix. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean it's a bad movie because I'm just saying, movies are kind of expensive these days, and I don't want to be like spending money, unless it's, I'm, going to be getting a certain, caliber of movie. But this was a popcorn movie. This was a fair movie, and guys, that's my review on it. If you've seen the movie, please comment. Let me know what parts you liked, what parts you didn't like. Let me know if you thought the movie just straight out sucked like some of the critics do. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, take care.